I'm really hoping that we've all heard of Myst, or the Myst series. If not, there's been 5 main games, and Cyan has re-released it every 6 months for the last 2 decades. Or at least, it sometimes feels like that. Despite that joke that I kind of feel bad about now, I'll preface this video by saying Myst is my favorite game of all time. Now we're going to go into why Myst is perfect. 2 brothers, Robin and Rand Miller, started making little niche point-and-click adventure games like The Manhole, Cosmic Osmo, and Spelunks in the late 80s, early 90s. They're quirky, fun, a little wacky, but oozing with promise of a couple hungry creatives. Fast forward to 1993 with the release of Myst, and suddenly they were superstars of the game industry. This was a time where hand-holding in video games wasn't a thing. No tutorials, no explanation of who you are, where you're going, what you want, or anything like that. Mystery, baby. Mystery. That, along with the photorealistic render style of the game world, made this an unparalleled immersive experience. This game was so culturally prevalent, Disney was in talks with them to make the Discovery Island section of their Florida theme park into a Myst-themed experience. That would have been sick! The game centers around an unknown visitor to an empty island with nothing but click navigation and atmosphere to guide them. The gameplay is open-world exploration with challenging puzzles. Unlike its contemporaries of the genre, it's non-linear, and you can go anywhere you want. One of my favorite aspects of the game is how the puzzle answers are sprinkled delicately throughout for you to just stumble on naturally. I mean, there's an entire library of burned books where you can click through them and stare at the burned pages. There's no secret message in there. The books are still burned. Then, of course, there's some books that aren't burned, and you can go into those and read some backstory, as well as start seeing puzzle information. When I was a baby, my parents used to gather around our old Macintosh and explore Myst and unlock what it had to offer. They had the journal that came with the game, filled out with all of the puzzle information they found, and we still have it to this day. It's practically a family heirloom at this point. Rand Miller said in an interview, "Let's not have people die and start over, because that irritated both of us. We felt like we were building a real world, and in a real world, you don't just die and start over every 5 minutes." I think this is a key aspect that really does make the game stand out, even today. The environment feels real. There's really no other way to explain it, other than for the time as a kid, I felt like I was on it. When my brothers and I played it, we used to have to wait painstaking minutes for the next image to load, but it really made every move matter. I mean, now you can speedrun the whole game in a minute, but you'll be doing yourself a disservice, I swear. The game was peppered with little living things like pre-rendered birds flying or water flowing, little touches that pumped up the realism even further. The textures alone of the initial library are warm and detailed. It's also easy to forget the vast variety of the ages in the game. The initial island tends to be what lingers in your memory after a complete run, but the ages have some really cool pieces. You get to learn all about the 2 brothers the story surrounds. Cirrus is a calm, collected, narcissistic psychopath, and Akinar is a manic, boisterous, sadistic psychopath. I always loved 2 specific items in the game with how hard they hit me as a player. The knife in the drawer. Every time I opened to find it, I always had this shiver run down my spine. And then that damn picture. King Cirrus. It's amazing. It speaks so heavily to his character, and it's just a stationary image. Sheer perfection. The narrative is all player-driven, where nothing is spoon-fed. In order to gain your first insight into the beings that inhabit the world, you must first place a page inside their corresponding book. You get to meet the brothers who give a plea as to why they're the one you need to help. The goal of the game is to start finding pages throughout the ages. Characters are equally charismatic and make you want to find the pages just to hear more of their arguments and explanations as to what's going on in this world. One of the greatest strengths is that nothing is really spelled out for you. The player has to fill in the blanks to what certain things mean. The trinkets within the worlds could mean many things, and Myst gives a ton of things for the player to mull. There's also a fun meld of magic where you can't really nail down what era you're in. At times it seems medieval, but the sheer teleportation through books is clearly not a medieval ability. It's just so damn cool. The multiple endings also give a replayability that becomes a staple in future games. I challenge anyone to not want to go back and see all of them. This one time, I ran up to Rand Miller at PAX East and sang the Cyan theme song to him like a nutjob. He kindly told me no one had ever done that. I wonder why. In hindsight, I probably could have handled that interaction better, but it's tough when you're in the presence of one of your heroes. As a musician, I don't know if there's an element as important to me as the sounds and music. The soundtrack was written and recorded by one of the brothers, Robin Miller, the only brother who doesn't think I'm crazy. There's very few soundtracks that transport you to a world of its own, like this one. Despite its MIDI-ness, it's perfect. The melodies of the ages linger long after playing the game. The theme alone is one that has multiple movements that are equally beautiful and memorable. I highly recommend giving it a listen if you haven't. It's a vibe. I would make the argument that without Myst, you don't get any of the immersive world-building experiences that came after. Games like Gone Home, The Witness, The Talos Principle, Portal, Firewatch. I mean, anything that really builds on immersion owes a small part of it to the masterclass of Myst. The impact didn't just stay in video games either. The showrunners of Lost cited Myst as a game changer for them, and a huge inspiration for the show. It's not a fluke that Cyan boasts being the oldest surviving independent game studio in the United States. They most recently released a complete overhaul of the game in 2021, and although I have a major soft spot for the original, I greatly appreciate the ability to randomize the puzzles and take a fresh approach. It allows even veteran Myst lovers the opportunity to experience the magic all over again. Alright, well, clearly I'm biased, but I swear it's for good reason. There's an element of how everyone always says you should never meet your heroes, and I can honestly say that Rand Miller is one of the nicest people in the industry. When I met him at PAX East, that time I serenaded him sweetly, he honestly couldn't have been more generous with his time. Their games come from an earnest place of wanting to transport the player into a new world that you can truly escape into. And now VR allows for a whole new level of immersion, and I highly recommend playing either Myst or Riven in VR. It's truly amazing. These games are particularly fun to play with others, because everyone has opinions on what the puzzle answers are and where best to navigate, making it a way better social experience. I know it sounds super corny and doesn't get better when I say it, but honestly, Myst is more than just a game. It's an experience that continues to inspire and captivate players decades after its original release. And that is why Myst is perfect. Thus ends my rant of love for Myst and Cyan. Did you know about Myst before this video? What's your favorite part of it? Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you next time.